Welcome. Come on in and find a seat, soldiers. So, purpose is now. If you don't want to be spoiled on anything, then please get on out of here. And with that out of the way, let's get started with this debriefing of the game Crysis 1 Remastered. It was an M-rated tactical action-packed sci-fi game that can take anywhere between 9 to 12 hours to beat. It was originally developed and published by EA, okay, but the series was fully remastered from development to publishing by Crytek. It first came out November 13th, 2007, but the remaster became available to all platforms on September 17th, 2021. Now remember, when doing these debriefings, there are 4 main criteria I look at, which are visuals/graphics, audio/soundtrack, story, and gameplay. And each of those criteria start at 5 out of 10 and can go up or down due to various conditions that I'll go over as we hit each section. At the end, I'll give my final thoughts and the average total score of the game. Like always, let's start off from the beginning of the list with the visual/graphics criteria. We'll be starting off this criteria by going over the unique designs, which increase the score by a whole point. The reason for this increase is due to the designs of the nanosuits and the aliens. But the reason it's not any higher is because of the enemies are so generic looking and because they're just generic looking soldiers. And besides the brief glimpses of them, we only see the aliens for about 2.5 hours, give or take. Moving on to the next condition, which is if I can tell what and where things are, in which I bumped the score up by 1.25. The reason for this score is because while in the alien ship, finding things was a pain, and getting a beat on the ends was even more so. But overall, it was easy enough to find ammo and the enemies with binoculars. The next condition is how good does it look, in which it looks so good it deserves a 1.5 increase. Now, I preface this by saying I've never played the original game, so I can't compare the two versions. But everything was realistic enough, in my opinion. The final condition in this criteria is the amount of bugs, which, besides the game lagging for a second or so whenever hitting a checkpoint, there weren't any that I noticed. So overall, the visual/graphics criteria got a 8.75 out of 10. The next criteria to sound off is the audio/soundtrack section. The first condition we're going over is the voice acting quality, which forced us positive 1.25. Besides people freaking out about spotting me or the aliens, the only real emotional responses were from the doctor chick and the colonel on the aircraft carrier. The only reason it wasn't any lower is due to the characters still showing some kind of personality. Moving on to the next condition, which is audio cue quality, which sounded like a solid 1.5 increase to me. The reason being that the gunshots and explosions sounded real enough in my opinion. And it helped whenever the suit told me whenever it was low on power and change modes. The next condition, bumping the score up by 1.5, is the soundtrack quality. That bump is due to the right tracks playing at the right times to give off that sense of mystery, suspense, and action-packed urgency. And like always, the last condition is the amount of bugs, in which there were also none here that I noticed. So with that said, it sounds like the audio/soundtrack criteria got a 9.25 increase out of 10. Continuing on to the next criteria, which is the story section. The first part of the criteria is the story's engagement, which was a 1.5 increase. That increase is due to being told the bare minimum of what's going on, like everyone else, from how our two teammates died to the Koreans and enemy having their own nano suits, as well as finally finding out about the aliens. The next condition is the uniqueness of the story, which is unique enough to earn it a +1 increase. To start it off with what it didn't make it unique, which is a Spec Ops unit stumbling across aliens while in normal human enemy territory, as well as they had their own version of our special nano suits. Oh man! But what did make it unique, though, was the fact that the aliens were biological beings that fed off power, which I found interesting. Moving on to the third condition in this criteria, which is the world building quality, which gives the score a worldly whole point increase. That increase is for the fact that they explain why you're there well enough and how the aliens feed, but they never go over how the nanosuits came about, how the Koreans got a hold of their own version of the nanosuits, how Prophet modified one of the aliens' guns as to where we could use it, or why everything froze. The final condition in this criteria is the ease of knowing what to do, which gets our first negative score of this debriefing at a negative 0.5. The reason for that score is for the fact that navigating both the alien ship and the human aircraft carrier were a major hassle. But there are also plenty of times I thought I was going the right way to deal with an objective that had multiple points, and to find out I still needed to backtrack. So to bring this story to a close, the story criteria got an 8 out of 10. The final condition we're going over this time around is the gameplay. The first condition in this criteria is the gameplay engagement, which was a positive 1.25 increase. What made the gameplay so engaging is the various nanosuit modes, allowing you a few ways to handle situations, from being stealthy to guns blazing. But my biggest issue is how empty things felt between various locations of action. Just trudging through the forest. Just, okay, there's nothing really to do much. But time to move on to the uniqueness of the gameplay, which is obviously the next condition, and boost the score up by 1. That boost comes from the weightlessness of the alien ship, as well as being able to change your weapon modifications to the nanosuit in the various nanosuit modes. But other than that, it is pretty much a generic FPS. Time to move on to the final condition that could positively raise the score, and that would be the UI quality, with a 1.25 increase. to said score. Everything was well implemented. My only issues were the fact that I couldn't move the map while looking at objectives, and the game didn't pause when changing weapon modes. So I either had to be quick with my changes or find a safe spot to do so. Now, moving on to conditions that could negatively affect the score. The first being if I needed to adjust the difficulty, which, besides hitting a few tough spots, wasn't so bad that I needed to lower the difficulty down from normal. Mm. The final condition in this debriefing is the amount of gameplay bugs. And that, like I said during the first criteria, there weren't any. My only issue is the fact that the game would lag whenever I'd hit a checkpoint. Overall, well, the gameplay criteria got an 8.5 out of 10. Now I do believe it's time to wrap this debriefing up. I think Crysis 1 Remastered was a pretty good and rated action-packed, tactical sci-fi game. It had equally good visuals, great audio, a pretty decent story, and the gameplay wasn't bad either. So overall, I believe it deserves an 8.63 out of 10 medals. But for now, soldiers, you are dismissed. I would like to thank all y'all for watching this shit show. Like what you saw, then you're more than welcome to hit that subscribe button. And if you'd like to be a part of the show, you can follow me on my Twitch channel. Stay up to date whenever I go live or posting the new content. Hit those bell icons, join my Discord, and follow me on my X/Twitter and Blue Sky. I'm also sponsored by W Energy, which is a powdered energy drink company that doesn't leave you with any crashes or jitters. And let's not forget that it tastes good too. Here, if you'd like to save 10% off on your order, you can use my code KCMing10 at checkout. Save 10% off. Well, all the links will be in my link tree in the description. And finally, since I'm new to posting on here, if you want to give me any tips, be very much appreciated. With all that said, with much love to you, I hope to catch y'all later. Bye.